I wasn't supposed to be there that late. The house was quiet, dim except for the soft amber glow from the kitchen. A storm had rolled through earlier, leaving the streets soaked and the air thick with the smell of rain and something unspoken. I was just crashing after a late night with my best friend, Nick. He'd already passed out in his room. But I couldn't sleep. Neither could she. She was sitting at the kitchen table, barefoot, a robe loosely tied over a tank top and shorts. Her hair was up, a few strands falling around her face. She looked tired, but not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. She looked lonely. "Can't sleep?" she asked when I walked in, her voice soft, almost careful. "Not really." I rubbed the back of my neck. "Didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't." She smiled, but it barely touched her eyes. "Want some tea?" I nodded. She moved around the kitchen like it was muscle memory, the way someone does things when their mind's somewhere else. I watched her hands, how they moved, graceful and quiet. I tried not to look at her legs, or how the robe slipped off one shoulder. She slid a mug toward me. "Chamomile," she said. "Good for nerves." I took a sip, grateful for the heat. Then silence. Not awkward, just charged. The kind of silence where the air feels heavy with things neither of you wants to say out loud. "You've grown up a lot," she said suddenly, not looking at me. I blinked. "What? You were a teenager the first time you came over. Now you're what, 22? 24, I said, smiling. She gave a small laugh. "God, time's cruel. You don't look any different." That made her look at me. Something passed between us then, just a flicker. A pause. But it landed like a drop in still water, rippling outward. She turned away first. Flatterer. But I wasn't joking. She didn't look like a mom. Not the way you're supposed to think of one. She looked like a woman who had been through things. Who felt things deeply. You could see it in the quiet behind her eyes. "I never did ask what you're studying," she said, changing the subject. "Design," I replied. "Graphic stuff. Freelancing here and there." "That's good," she said. "You always had that careful way of seeing the world." She said it so gently I had to look away. The silence settled again. She leaned back in her chair, one leg folded underneath her. I tried to focus on my tea, but my heart was somewhere in my throat. "Nick talks about you a lot," she said after a while. "Says you're like a brother." I nodded. "He's family." She looked at me then. Really looked. And this time, she didn't look away. "You're not a boy anymore," she said. "You're a man now." My breath caught, just a little. "I'm still your son's friend," I said, barely above a whisper. Something flickered in her eyes, guilt, maybe, or something that looked too much like longing. She stood slowly, her hand brushing the table for balance. Then she stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her skin. "I shouldn't want this," she whispered, her voice breaking like a confession. "But I do." And just as the words hung between us, the doorbell rang. She froze. We both did. And suddenly the quiet wasn't quiet anymore. The doorbell didn't ring again. Just once. Sharp, sudden, and gone. She stepped back like the sound had snapped something between us. I could see her breathing shift, shoulders tight, eyes flicking to the front hallway. "Probably nothing," she said, too quickly. "Maybe a package." She moved to check, and I stayed frozen in the kitchen, heart still racing. My hands were clenched around the mug. The heat was gone. She came back a minute later, empty-handed, saying nothing. We didn't talk about what she'd just said. The words were still in the room with us, echoing in the walls and under our skin. She poured herself more tea. Her hands were shaking slightly. "I don't know what's wrong with me," she said quietly. "I haven't felt like this in years." I watched her, trying to find the right words. Something that didn't sound naive or selfish. "You haven't done anything wrong," I said. She laughed, but there was no joy in it. "You think Nick would agree?" There it was again, his name like a line we weren't supposed to cross. "I've been alone for a long time," she said, barely above a whisper. "After his dad left, I stopped letting myself feel things. Safer that way. You get good at surviving. You build walls." But then she didn't finish the sentence. I looked down at my hands. "I get it. Sort of." She tilted her head, curious. "I was with someone for almost 2 years," I said. "College thing." She left. Said I was too guarded. That I didn't let people see the real me. "Did you love her?" I nodded. But I didn't know how to show it. I didn't even know how to explain why I kept everything inside. Her eyes softened. "You don't seem guarded now." I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't just beautiful. She was human in the rawest way. All those layers she wore around other people, stripped away in this quiet, late-night hour. Maybe that's what made this so dangerous. Not the age difference. Not even that she was my friend's mom. It was the fact that we saw each other. We weren't supposed to. You scare me, I said before I could stop myself. She blinked. Why? Because this feels real. And I don't know where it leads. Her hand was resting on the table near mine. Slowly, like testing gravity, she turned it palm up. I didn't take it, but I didn't pull away either. She looked at me with a mix of fear and want. I keep thinking this is wrong, she said. But then I wonder, what if it's the first honest thing I've felt in years? A silence stretched again, full, heavy, electric. I reached over and brushed her fingers with mine. Just barely. She didn't flinch. She closed her hand around mine. And for a moment, we just sat there. No words, no plans, no lies. Just touch. Just truth. She didn't let go of my hand. And I didn't move. Every part of me was screaming to lean in, to close the space between us. But before either of us said another word, footsteps. Coming down the hallway. Her eyes widened. She yanked her hand back like it burned. I shot up from my seat just as Nick's voice cut through the quiet. Mom. She stood too fast, knocking over her tea. It spilled across the table in a quiet rush. In here, she called, voice tight. Nick stepped in, groggy, rubbing his eyes. He looked at both of us. Me standing stiff near the sink. Her grabbing a towel. What's going on? He asked. She forced a laugh. Just couldn't sleep. Made some tea. Spilled it. Nick looked at me. You good? I nodded. Yeah. Just heading to bed. I walked past him quickly, not daring to meet his eyes. Upstairs, in the dark guest room, my pulse was still pounding in my throat. I couldn't tell if he knew. But I felt exposed. 10 minutes later, a soft knock. I opened the door. It was her. She stepped inside without asking. Closed it behind her. We need to stop, she said, voice low but firm. Before we ruin everything. I swallowed hard. I know. But neither of us moved. I can't risk hurting Nick, she said. He's all I have. And this, whatever this is, it's not fair to you, either. It's not that simple, I said. You think I haven't tried to ignore this? Her arms were crossed, but she wasn't pulling away. You're not just some fantasy, I continued. You're real. This is real. I'm twice your age, she whispered. I don't care. Silence. She looked down, shaking her head. You don't know what you're asking for. I took a step closer. I'm not asking for anything. I need you to know you're not alone. She looked up at me then, eyes wet but fierce. For a split second, we both leaned in. Our faces were inches apart. Her breath caught. My hand grazed her waist. Then she pulled back. No, she said, her voice barely holding. I want to. God, I want to. But if we cross that line, we can't uncross it. I stood still, waiting. She opened the door. But before walking out, she looked over her shoulder. Tomorrow morning, everything goes back to normal, she said. Then she added, softer, if we can survive the night. And she was gone. The door clicked shut. And I stood there, alone, wanting her more than I ever should. The next morning was a lie. She acted like nothing had happened. Coffee in the kitchen. Sunlight through the blinds. Her hair pulled back, voice calm. Like her hand hadn't gripped mine hours ago. Like we hadn't almost kissed in the dark. Nick was chipper, clueless. I sat at the table trying to match her performance, but I couldn't keep up. My chest was tight. My eyes kept drifting to her lips, her neck, the skin I'd nearly touched. After breakfast, Nick offered to take me home. I said I'd walk instead, needed the air. He shrugged. Cool. You sure? Yeah. I could feel her watching me as I grabbed my bag. She didn't say goodbye. I made it 3 blocks before I turned around. By the time she opened the door, I could barely breathe. I can't do this, I said. I can't pretend last night didn't happen. She stood frozen in the doorway. I know you're scared, I said. So am I. But you felt it too. Stop pretending you didn't. Her eyes were glassy. You think I haven't been tearing myself apart over it? Then stop tearing. Pick a side. Push me away or don't, but don't leave me standing in the middle of this. She closed the door behind me. I've spent years burying myself in routine, she said. Being Nick's mom. Being responsible. Quiet. Safe. And then you walk in with those eyes that see right through me. You make me feel things I forgot were possible. She stepped closer. I should hate you for it. I laughed under my breath. Yeah, I should probably hate you too. Her voice cracked. But I don't. I ache when you leave. I think about you at night. I replay every second from yesterday over and over, asking myself when I stopped being his mother and started being a woman again. I stepped forward. She didn't move. Our faces were inches apart again. If I kiss you, I said, everything changes. I know. Her voice trembled. A long beat. Neither of us moved. Then Mom? Nick's voice. Upstairs. We both froze. A second passed. Then two. She pressed her palm to my chest, gently, but firm. Go, she whispered. Before we do something we can't undo. But her eyes didn't let me go. Not yet. I backed away slowly. She didn't move. Just stood there, lips parted, breathing heavy. I turned to leave. Wait. I stopped. Her voice was breaking. If I tell you not to go, will you stay? I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because the next step, the next word, would shatter everything. And we were both already standing on the edge. I didn't stay. I walked. Fast. Heart pounding, lungs burning. But when I got back to my apartment, I already knew I couldn't run from this. I grabbed my phone. One message from Nick. Hey. Weird question. Were you and my mom up talking last night? I stared at the screen. Typing. Then he sent another. She's been weird all morning. And I found her phone. She left a draft message open. To you. I froze. Are you too? Is something going on? My stomach dropped. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Seconds later, my phone rang. It was him. I let it ring out. Then the voicemail came. Dude, if I find out you touched her, if you even thought about it, you're dead to me. I swear to God. Silence rang louder than his words. The air in my apartment turned cold. She hadn't told him, but she'd been about to. That message, she was going to confess. She was ready to burn everything. And I had walked away. I stared at the wall for what felt like forever. Then I grabbed my keys. Back at her place, the air was tense before I even stepped inside. She opened the door like she'd been waiting. You saw it? She asked. Nick knows. Her face went pale. What did he say? I swallowed. He left me a voicemail. Threatened to cut me out. Said I was dead to him if this is real. She closed her eyes, one hand gripping the doorframe. I was going to delete that message, she said. But I couldn't. I think part of me wanted him to find it. You were ready to tell him the truth? She nodded, barely. Why? I asked. Why now? Her voice cracked. Because I wasn't willing to lie anymore. Not to him. Not to myself. I stepped closer, desperate to feel something other than dread. But she backed away. It's too late now, she whispered. The damage is done. No, I said. We haven't done anything. We have, she cut in. We crossed lines. Emotional ones. And he knows it. Even if he never saw us kiss, he knows we wanted to. I shook my head. So what? We just throw it all away. She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw regret take over her face. Not regret for feeling what she felt, but regret that it happened in the first place. I have to choose him, she said. And I have to live knowing I wasn't enough, I said, barely holding it together. You were too much, she whispered. That's the problem. Before I could reply, a car door slammed outside. Nick. She turned toward the sound, frozen. I looked at her one last time. Then the front door opened. He stepped inside. And everything stopped. Nick's eyes landed on me first. Then her. Then back to me. No one said a word. He stepped forward, slow, like he didn't trust what he was seeing. Tell me I'm wrong, he said, voice tight. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. She stepped in front of me, like shielding me would somehow soften the blow. Nick, she said. Please. Please what? He snapped. Please pretend my best friend wasn't about to kiss my mom? He laughed once. Bitter. I took a breath. It wasn't like that. Bullsh asterisk T, he shouted. You think I didn't see it coming? The weird looks, the awkward silences, the way you started staying over more, helping her around the house like some wannabe stepdad. Nick, she said again, more firmly. No, I want to hear him say it. He turned to me. Did you want her? I hesitated. That was enough. He shook his head like he didn't even recognize me anymore. Get out. I didn't plan this, I said. I didn't mean for it to happen. But it did. And I'm sorry. I swear I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. You didn't just hurt me, he said, his voice suddenly quiet. You betrayed me. I looked at her. She was crying now, arms crossed like she could hold herself together if she just squeezed tight enough. I was lonely, she whispered. And he was kind. He saw me. Nick's mouth tightened. You're my mom. I know, she said. And I've never hated myself more. Silence. Heavy. Cracked open and raw. Nick looked at both of us. Do you love her? He asked me. The question hit like a punch. I don't know what this is, I said. But it wasn't fake. It wasn't a game. She matters to me. He nodded once. Cold. Final. Then looked at her. And you? She wiped her face, but didn't answer. Nick turned around, walked to the door, and opened it. I need space. From both of you. He didn't yell this time. It was worse than yelling. He was done. She stepped forward. Nick, he didn't look back. He just walked out. The door closed behind him, and the silence that followed felt permanent. We stood there, barely breathing. She turned to me. You should go. I nodded. Yeah. At the door, I stopped. I never wanted to come between you two. She nodded, eyes distant. But we let it happen anyway. I'm sorry, I said again. She stepped close enough that I could feel everything we didn't say. She touched my cheek. Soft. You made me feel alive again, she whispered. I just wish it didn't have to cost so much. We held that moment. Then I walked away. Not with anger. Not even regret. Just the weight of a love that came too late and mattered too much to stay. It's been 3 months. I haven't seen Nick since that day. He blocked my number. Removed me from every group chat. Mutual friends don't ask questions. They just choose sides. He chose silence. I don't blame him. She and I never spoke again, not in person. One message came, weeks later. Just a simple text, I hope you're okay. I never replied. Not because I didn't care, but because I knew that part of our story had ended. Not with a bang, not with a kiss, but with a door closing and the quiet understanding that some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed. I've replayed everything in my head, over and over. The kitchen light, the whisper, the way her fingers curled around mine like they hadn't touched anyone in years. Was it love? Maybe not. But it was real. And sometimes real is enough to change you. I've changed. I don't look at people the same way anymore. I don't fall for fantasy. I don't chase what feels good just because it's burning. But I also don't pretend things don't matter when they do. She mattered. And so did he. That's the hardest part. You think you can control who you hurt if you're careful enough. But some feelings are like fire. You think you can hold them gently, but sooner or later, they burn. Still, I wouldn't undo it. Even if I lost a friend. Even if I walked away without her. Because for the first time in my life, I said what I felt. I stood in front of the fire and didn't run. Now I live quieter. More honest. I've started seeing someone new. It's early. Different. No tension. No secrets. Just something calm and slow. And sometimes, when it's late and I'm alone, I wonder if she thinks about me. If she remembers the storm. The tea. The silence full of everything we couldn't say. Maybe that's what we were, a moment. The kind you don't tell anyone about, but never forget. Because once, in the middle of a quiet kitchen, someone looked at you like you were more than just someone's friend. You were seen. And that kind of thing stays with you. Forever. Did you enjoy the story? What hit you hardest? The forbidden pull, the broken friendship, or the choice she had to make? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? More emotional entanglements? Wild forbidden romances? Or maybe something darker, where secrets don't stay buried? Let me know in the comments. Your next obsession starts with one story, just like this one did.